welcome to the Royal Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Rollison, also known as T-Roll. And tonight, I'm joined by my very good friends. First of all, we have Justin Sandoval, a.k.a. Sandy. And we also have Anthony Amato, who we like to call Shamato. Boys, we're back at it again on the Royal Geek Podcast. Excited for another great episode. But before we get into all the fun stuff we're talking about, how y'all doing?
Dude, man, can't do any better. We're doing great.
Yeah, you're doing good?
Yeah, fantastic.
Shamato, how you feeling, man?
Dude, I'm doing well. Like it's been a crazy, summer. It's winding down though now, and I think we're gonna be running into a nice little fall time right here.
Yeah, we got a busy fall on the horizon.
Yeah,
right.
Fall slate, man.
Tonight,
gotta love it.
Tonight we are going to be, in a sense, previewing one of the big, maybe the biggest show of the fall, if you don't count House of Dragon, because it's
done now.
Right, it's done now.
Yeah.
That wasn't really fall.
Yeah,
it was summer.
I would say.
By the way, why did they do that? Because 2 years ago they did it in the fall. House of Dragon. I just thought
That's
about
true.
that.
I think they had some production issues. I remember hearing.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a lot of shows have turned to like the summer as like the release time. Like, okay,
They want to
so
compete with football.
like
That's what it is.
that actually
probably
very
it.
well might be true, especially like shows that are HBO driven. But they love Sunday night,
You
but
can't
they
do
don't want
Sunday
to
night.
compete
Yeah.
with them because you just talk about the summer schedule. Like House of the Dragon came out, new season of the Bear, new season of the Boys, like all came out in the summer this year.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah,
Football's in the air, man.
but the
Our
show-
draft is tomorrow.
That's
guys.
right. It is. It is. By the time people are listening to this, when you're listening to this, we will be doing our fantasy football draft. But that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
All right.
Ooh,
Here's-
we should plug Curtis's pod.
No. No.
never,
No.
never do that.
Although we do love you, Curtis, but no. That pod is just for our
It's
league.
very intimate. Very intimate.
All right. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the show we're talking about tonight, Rings of Power. They're not scared of football. 2 years ago? Didn't they come out every Thursday? Like after Thursday Night Football on Prime too?
Oh yeah.
Literally on Prime.
Well, no, I think it was just the first two episodes dropped on after Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
I believe.
When the others come out?
I think then it switched to Wednesday nights. I believe.
Is that real?
I think so.
Well, I don't know when they're coming out. The first episode is
August 29th.
next week.
Yep, next week.
Exciting. And we will be here to review it. So this is officially our, I guess you can call it our recap of Season 1
/ speculation.
/ some speculation
Yeah.
previewing
Yeah.
Season 2. Truth is, I don't know what the heck to speculate on. Maybe you guys do.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a good discussion.
Yeah, and we're hoping to get some very knowledgeable guests to appear on the pod for the next couple episodes. We'll see. We'll see.
A little teaser there by Sandy.
That is
I don't
called
know
a
nothing
hook
about
right
this.
there. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so let's handle some business first. Just want to thank everyone for tuning in, okay? We want to remind you to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Follow us on social media at Royal Geek Pod. And here's the deal. If you are a fan of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, even the freaking Hobbit, all right? If you're a fan of any of this Tolkien stuff and you got other friends who are fans, please share this podcast with them. It's a great way to help us out, okay? Really would mean the world to us. With that in mind, let's kind of dig in. This isn't going to be in-depth. If you want to really look at some in-depth reviews of Rings of Power, go on our feed, scroll to 2 years ago, okay? Because we did every episode, I believe we did every episode of Season 1.
We sure did, yeah.
That was a busy time for us, but go check it out. But yeah, let's just kind of, as an appetizer for next week for Season 2 coming out, let's revisit Season 1. Where do you guys want to start?
Oof. How about let's start with what we didn't like about Season 1? Is that possible?
Ooh, sure.
Is that possible?
That's great.
yeah. I mean, I think it's
Negative Nancy over here, dude.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
I've embraced it, man. I've
Yeah.
embraced
We
it.
can start there. I would say like one of the biggest things for me that I didn't like is actually I'll start with something that is actually has nothing to really do with the show.
Okay.
For me,
Now
I
we're
felt like
talking.
there were a
Yeah,
lot.
I'm excited for this.
There was a lot of unnecessary like negativity from the fan community about this show.
Here we go.
I feel like there were a lot of people
Preach.
that were very dismissive, like really hating on the show. I felt like a lot of it was people who were maybe knowledgeable in the Lord of the Rings universe, but weren't knowledgeable in the show. Like, in the sense of, I feel like it was a lot of people who were like, they heard about what the show was, and they made a lot of assumptions without actually watching what was happening or understanding that, like, it's a television format. Mm-hmm. It's going to be different than watching a movie. And I feel like some people want to put this idea on, like, a pedestal of everything that, what Peter Jackson has done, and they see it through the lens of the Lord of the Rings franchise. But, there are definitely some warts on the Hobbit franchise as a set of movies.
Oh, wait, it's perfect.
So Lord of the Rings.
So
yes. Hobbit. No.
Yes. I would go to bat for Lord of the Rings, like, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But The Hobbit was, I feel like it's following a very similar path as, like...
The only thing I remember from The Hobbit is the Ed Sheeran song, I See Fire.
Yeah.
It's like,
dude, it was great. It was
great song. Good song.
Yeah. When it played during the credits.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Incredible. Smog just
but that was
like,
the peak.
Yeah.
That was the peak.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I feel like it's going a similar path as like Star Wars, where it's like people are, doing revisionist history on the TV series, but we're forgetting some of the foibles of, the movie franchises.
Here's the thing, dude. These franchises that are so massive, and I've said this about Marvel, I've definitely said it about Star Wars. You guys know I've said it about Star Wars. And I suppose Lord of the Rings falls into it too. When some of these franchises get so big and their fan bases are so massive, there comes this like hyper critical nature of things.
Yeah, I think there's also like this idea, especially because of like in all these formats where they come from a lot of lore and there's a lot of source material in a lot of these things.
Right.
Where like Star Wars, after Return of the Jedi, there was so much, either whether it be true followings of like written things, or if it was like fan fiction that became almost, like side by side. Same thing with Marvel with having all the comics that they have, all the source material. Lord of the Rings is a very similar idea of, there's a long time in history where people were like, you can't make Lord of the Rings, in a movie, just because of like the scope and what you would have to actually do to make it. And, whether it be for practical effects or CGI, whatever you were doing with it. So I feel like it has a similar like base in that form, to where there are all these people that have built their own fan theories in their mind for so long that anything that contradicts it is automatically wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It couldn't be. I mean, that was well said.
And I had a friend, going to your first critical point here, I had a friend, literally the reason I was late tonight, shout out to my boy Jonathan, who I was talking to on the way in. If you're listening, love you, bro. But he's a massive Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah. Was he like, don't do it? Don't
make
this pod.
Well, because I was like, I mentioned to him, I was like, because you were like, kind of mid on this, right? Like, didn't love it, didn't hate it. He's like, yeah, it was pretty much. Like, I just feel like it wasn't created for like me as like a deep lore fan. And I was like, yeah, it was created for me, someone who didn't read the books, who could just enjoy a fun show.
Exactly.
And he's like, yeah, that's right. And I get why they did that, but that's just his. And he wasn't like hating on it, but he was just kind of middle of the road. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember. Here's what I do remember. I don't remember a lot of the names. I don't remember a lot of the backstory. I don't remember a lot of the connections to, the actual Lord of the Rings movies themselves. But I do remember the show being freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I do remember
quality, right?
The quality of the show being like, holy crap, like they really did this well.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about things negatively here, sir. What did I hate?
Fuel your anger.
What did I hate? Actually, what did I hate? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you were more on the like I'm like big eye, new mainstream
shiny
watcher.
Toy.
Yeah. But I know as far as me, like I mean, some of the acting didn't hit as hard, and Theo comes to mind.
Was awful.
Yeah.
Theo,
that's child/tween/teen actor.
Yeah.
The son.
Your favorite genre?
Yeah,
of,
Theo is the
of
worst.
TV.
That's right. Yeah, Theo was the worst. The one that grabbed the necro sword.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, God.
And
really
also,
was.
like for me with Theo, it was also I felt like they were kind of feeding him down this path of like of the savior / the one pathway, and I don't particularly like that journey a lot of the times.
Well, they derailed that quickly.
Yes.
So,
but I feel like they were feeding him down that pathway.
I know. Yeah.
That's
right.
But also with him, they were making it very easy for him to. One of the parts that I don't like about that is essentially there's this idea in that trope where it's like anything anyone else does they can't forgive, but anything that they do is instantly forgiven. I hate that that part of that trope.
yeah.
Yes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I didn't like that comes to mind immediately. What do you think, Justin?
Harfoots?
The
Harfoots come to mind?
Harfoots. That's those were the two parts.
Yeah.
Me and
Poppy in particular?
yes.
That's Nori's friend.
Yeah, Nori's
Yes.
friend. Yeah.
The Harfoots were definitely a weaker storyline.
Which, to be honest with you, the story that their Harfoot storyline, I mean, is it basically just a jumping point just to introduce us to Gandalf? Like, is that really like his love for the quote unquote hobbits, Harfoots, started then, and then he's like molded and shaped by that, and then he moves on in this next season.
Which,
two.
to tell you the truth, makes a lot of sense for like him as a character, for his reasoning of why he holds them in such high regard, because almost no other species at the beginning of like the Lord of the Rings holds hobbits at high regard, other than Gandalf.
Yeah, that's
true.
true. Great point. And it started here.
So it would make sense if he has a deep connection with them from long ago. That would make sense for him to have that connection, And it would be nice if in season 2, if we kind of like, if it's just him and Nori and it's their adventures, like kind of from here out, and we just kind of like leave the rest of, maybe at the end of season 2, they wrap back around and all of a sudden we see like a big shot and it's the Shire, and it's essentially like, like they kind of jump ahead in time, and it's like, you can see the Shire is essentially like almost where it's at, in the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Yeah, like the early stages of the Shire.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So speaking of Gandalf, and what's interesting, one thing I do remember about season 1 is like it kept feeling like as we were watching it, we were like, okay, oh that's Sauron. Oh no, that's got to be Sauron right there.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
we
no,
kept bouncing.
this,
Yep.
this must be, like,
Yeah.
it kept, and then it turned out to be Halbrand? Or Halbrand or whatever.
Yes.
Halbrand, yeah. Mhm.
So it's like, I remember feeling, like, blown away by that.
Yeah.
But when Gandalf shows up, and he was called the Stranger at first.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, it actually, he's
that right?
they've actually technically never stated
They haven't
him
confirmed
as
it
Gandalf
yet. Yeah.
yet.
It's still not confirmed, but
But-
the
I mean-
last
I mean,
episode, the one line he says is literally like word for word of what he says in the Lord
Yes,
of the Rings.
And those
so.
3 white devil people,
Yeah.
they said, oh, he must be the other one.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Which other being could possibly be that?
it's got to be
Yeah,
Gandalf.
it is. But like, just throwing that out there, that they have
Officially, yeah.
officially yet to
Not say it.
actually say Gandalf or giving him like another like
But
name.
But assuming that that's Gandalf and Halbrand is Sauron, like, how did you guys feel looking back on it? Like the fact that they kept toying with us, and like who is actually Sauron the whole time until the big reveal at the end?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Did you guys like that?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did.
It gave the because I think one of the coolest things about week to week releases nowadays, and we've seen it in Marvel and we've seen it in Star Wars. It's one of the things that really makes an effective TV series on these streaming services right now is the idea of and it builds conversation from week to week, is the idea of a mystery. Like, what are we trying to unravel here? Like, is because you can get lost if it's a week, just a creature of the week type of situation, or it's just they all feel like they're standalones.
Yeah.
Things like that. Whereas, like, if you're looking forward to that mystery becoming more and more unraveled, or those questions being answered a little bit better, and the next week it pulls you forward, you know. And I think that's one thing that we kind of miss in like this streaming era is like, you know, looking back at when we had network television. One of the things they could do well is like have this mystery from week to week.
Yeah, they did a good job of that keeping us intrigued and us wanting more of like who's the villain, like where, like they're creating this environment of like she's hunting him down, like where is
exactly
he? Like the first episode, like she is literally like on search for him. And,
Galadriel,
yeah,
you're talking
Galadriel,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
Galadriel. She is like that's her main purpose and mission is to find Sauron and just destroy him,
Eliminate him because
Yeah,
he killed her brother.
Yeah, that's right, her brother, and that the keeping us guessing and wanting more, like that was done very well.
Yeah, and like I remember like I really enjoyed Halbrand or Hal. How do you say his name? Halbrand.
Halbrand.
Halbrand. Okay, great. Again, names. World Geek Podcast. We're not great at it, but anyways, I really enjoyed him. So to feel like duped and like, oh, it's just the innocent human, or so we think, right?
Right.
It's just a simple blacksmith.
Yeah, like you
Right?
see, like you knew there was something up with him, and I think what was really cool is they were giving him like almost the Aragon character
Yes,
art,
yes.
you know. So like it kind of like to give you this almost feeling of him being a hero. Like you're supposed to be able to match him up with this person who we know is like one of the big heroes of the Lord of the Rings franchise. You even have him have a potential love interest with an elf. You know,
Right, right.
You line that up with this person who is, you know, oh, he's very mysterious. He may be from, he's a little rough and tumble, but he seems to do, you know, he seems to know maybe a little more than he's telling, but not necessarily in a bad way. He's obviously has some. They slowly unveil that he has some royal connections.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But he seemed for most of it, he seemed like a gritty, humble survivor.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
grittier Jon Snow, really, because the king that's supposed to be that didn't want it, like that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, because he knew where he kind of knew where he came from, right? Like he had the seal on his pouch, but he didn't want it. He didn't want to be the king. Like,
He didn't want to become the king because essentially it was his own, like, in a way it was kind of his penance for what his people had done. Because what had happened was his people had sided with Morgoth, who was the big bad that was like the step above Sauron at the beginning of the series. Like the very beginning when they were talking about the elves and who they were fighting, Morgoth was the big bad, and Sauron was a part of it, but he wasn't the big bad. And essentially, Halbrand didn't. At least he said he didn't want to have that. His story went along the lines of he didn't want that crown because in his mind, his people had betrayed man and had betrayed good.
yeah, and honestly, like, I mean I know we mentioned the Harfoots and I mentioned Theo. Like those are really like the only two bad things. I feel like we're kind of drifting into the good things now
Because it's mostly good,
Let's
right?
ride it. Yeah, let's ride it now.
All right,
let's
let's
ride that
ride
wave. Which Galadriel and like she is a phenomenal character. I
Yes.
think that the actress portraying her did a phenomenal job, and like she really kind of drives the story. Honestly, she really does.
Yes.
And you get behind her, you get on board, and you feel her conviction, right? Like on what, like her desires to accomplish her goal, and it all kind of plays off of her.
Yeah.
And it never felt like, you know how sometimes, tell me if I'm wrong, you know how sometimes there's like a main character who you understand their drive, but sometimes you almost want to be like, take it down just a notch.
Yeah.
I never felt like she was too extra. I felt like she had just the right amount of like passion, drive, anger, frustration, conviction.
Yeah. I think she did a really good job, and it may have been partially because of the fact it was split over multiple storylines, so there wasn't like so much of a focus on 100% her that
It's
it was
true,
kind
it was
of like
bouncing all around.
because you don't end up with this like, you know, extreme focus on her, to where every moment has to be based around that drive, that push of hers. I mean, I love the fact that her character was this like. She just did not care about any of the political
Yeah.
like red
She didn't play the
tape
game.
of
She didn't play the
bureaucracy.
game.
No.
She was
Yeah.
like, I have this to do. I'm going to do it. You can help me, or you can get out of my way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I love the fact that she was just like,
Yeah.
I have my path,
Yep.
and I am on it.
Yeah.
I love that, and I love how they just her story. She's just like an awesome warrior too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we really like followed her more like deeply when she went to Numenor and she started recruiting
Yeah.
them, like trying
Yes.
to figure
Right.
out
That's right.
how to convince them to join her cause. And I mean, it ended up being the right cause because like when the leaves fell in Numenor, it was a sign for the queen, like you're making the wrong decision by not helping. And that right there was just like incredible. With that Galadriel
Yes.
was able to side with them and bring them on to help save the Southland, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Southlands. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's great.
I do find it really interesting that like a lot of the lore of Lord of the Rings is built around like bad decisions made by man, but like when you see it play out, like the things they focus on, there's actually a lot of really good and like decisions made by man.
Yeah.
Like Numenor, even though they initially were like against it, they end up doing the right thing.
They do, yeah.
Like in that sense, you talk about like somebody like the Rohirrans, coming to the aid of to Gondor, even though they really like it was, like, even though their relationship with Gondor was not that strong,
It was not there. Yeah,
it was not there.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting too. I mean, looking back on it, she had this will they, won't they kind of vibe with Hallbrand, and
Yes.
Yeah.
turns out that like that's the person she was chasing the whole time.
I know.
Yes.
And the way how like almost poetic was it? They meet on this raft, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They meet on this raft. He like saves her. Some like Godzilla creature attacks them in the water. They're the only two to survive conveniently. The sparks are flying. They're zinging. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And then back at the end, when she realizes who he is and she tries to attack him, he pulls this like dark magic on her in a way. And they go back to the raft.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
full
He tries
circle.
to convince
Flashback,
her.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he tries to win her over.
The
Yes.
imagery of like them on the ship, like debris and everything, and then the mirror image in the water of
Yes.
him wearing his crown and then her next to him.
Yes.
That kind of thing. Beautiful.
Dude, they and like to the point where I'm like, go get it, girl. Like I was thinking, like,
yes, exactly.
roll the kingdoms, man. Just,
But yeah,
great. But
the thing, like once again, everything about her character up to this point, like she was no nonsense.
it's
So
true.
like the pitfalls of that situation, the like power that he was offering her
Yeah.
didn't mean anything to her.
That's true.
And like throughout the whole season, like even when we weren't really thinking about it, everything that she was doing was building her character for it to be believable, for her to be like,
Yeah.
that's not what I want.
Yeah.
It's
And
true.
and that led her to the hot commodity of the mithril, right? Like like it was it. Like mithril was that item, that item.
How do you pronounce that?
Mithril.
Mithril.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like no matter what as hard as he tried, and like you genuinely like, and here's why I love his character. He's not just evil for the sake of being evil. He was like trying to really win her over, and I love that.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But his dark magic, it didn't work. You
Nope.
know, he could have used Justin. He could have used some magic mind for
Ooh,
Galadriel. That
there we
would
go.
have helped them out. It would have helped him out for sure. He would have won the gal.
Oh yeah, for
But-
sure, man.
But her mind was too strong, man. She didn't need magic mind. He did. Let me tell you a little bit about Magic Mind, bro. This is cutting edge stuff. We're talking Middle Earth magic here in a bottle, okay? Man, the leading mental performance shot. You want to take this, bro? You can look, Justin. I know you like shots.
Yes, I do. I mean, I take a bunch of like energy shots and everything, but mental performance shots, like
I was speaking other kind of shots, but that's okay too.
Tequila, baby. No,
Yeah,
but
dude.
anyway, Magic Mind has honestly, like, I'm only saying this because I truly believe in the product. I really do.
Yeah, man.
And with me, like, working from home, like, this gives me the amount of focus that I need, right? And the fact that they have this convenience of subscription, like, I'm telling you, this is so easy. Like, this morning, I got a text saying, "Hey, we just picked up your package of Magic Mind." Text sent to me and saying it's on your way. It'll be
it's on
it's on the way.
its way.
On its way. Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, thank you." I didn't even realize it was time to send me a new one, but they did it because the ease of convenience there. And
Totally.
the best thing about the subscription is that it's free shipping, and so not only are you signed up for it to send to you every single month, right? But you get free shipping with that. And dude, I'm telling you, that makes a huge difference. It really does. And I mean, for all the listeners out there, if you decide to do the subscription plan, like, I mean, it's easy to cancel too. If, like, you feel like you can't
Just
keep
check it
up.
out.
There's so many subscriptions that you're probably like you're dealing with. Just check it out. I'm telling you, like, you don't even think about it until, like, you're like, "Oh man, I just drank my last bottle." Well, guess what? I got a text that same day, like, saying, "Hey, don't worry, fear not. Your next batch of Magic Mind is on the way," and that is crazy.
Dude, that is nice. I love it when, like, I'm having one of those days where, like, it was yesterday where I was like, man, I just need something to help me focus.
Yeah.
Give me a little energy, a little pizzazz. You know what I'm saying? And open my fridge up. I like to keep mine cold, so I got them on the top shelf. There's some top shelf stuff here.
It is top shelf
in my refrigerator, and I open it up, and it's in there. Dude, little unassuming bottle too. It's just a little shot, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I got some freaking Magic Mind.
Changes
in the
your
fridge.
day,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It changes your freaking
Dude,
day.
it feels good, man.
I love it, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you this morning. So I was driving into work,
All right.
and I brought a Magic Mind with me. And right before I got out of the car, I took the shot, and I felt like Ric Flair. Straight up, I was like,
Yeah.
"Woo!" Yes, I was like, "Woo!"
Dude, that's awesome.
I love it.
So listen, man, whether it's your coffee, energy drink replacement, or you just add it into your morning routine, it's great for a healthy lifestyle. Let me tell you how you need to get some Magic Mind right now, okay? You need to go to magicmind.com/RoyalPod20, okay? And when you check out, when you set up your subscription, you want to use the code RoyalPod20. Here's what that's going to give you. You're going to get 20% off, whether you tried the free trial last month or you're a brand new customer. You're going to get 20% off. You're also going to get up to 48% off if you choose the subscription. So just like Justin did, just like he explained, check out the subscription. One more time, you want to go to magicmind.com/RoyalPod20. Use the code RoyalPod20 to get your discounts and take your mental performance shot. Your life will be different, baby. I'm telling you. And you won't be a complete failure at winning the girl like Hallbrand was.
Yeah. Oh man. Back to the magic. The dark magic.
The dark magic.
Yeah. Halbrand. He let us have it like that. The confrontation by the pond, right?
Yes.
Where
So tense.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, where she realizes, oh my goodness, I've been with him the whole entire
Again,
time.
I was duped.
Yes.
I was duped, man.
Yeah, it was good. I think Shimano and I started suspecting it. I think maybe an episode or an episode and a half before.
Yeah.
I remember. I think if you go back and listen, we started throwing out that Halbrand's the guy. And T-Roll's like, no, he's
Yeah.
just
You
some
guys are
schmuck.
freaking nuts.
He's a schmuck.
I mean, when he started, like, when he tripped that horse and, like, when he was going at it from there, it started really feeling like there might be more to this dude than meets the eye.
That's fair. That's fair. You guys are good
Yeah.
at this stuff.
But yeah, no, I love that scene too, man. And a compliment or a complimentary character to Galadriel is Elrond. Elrond,
Yes.
a young Elrond and a young Galadriel. I mean, you love him in the Lord of the Rings trilogies, and so
Yes.
of course you're gonna love them in this. But his storyline was, I thought it was very cool because it also brought us the dwarfs, right? And
Yeah.
the dwarf characters were incredible, absolutely
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah, phenomenal characters, and it also really, like, it helps you truthfully, it adds a layer to the relationships that are happening in Lord of the Rings, because a lot of by the times of the Lord of the Rings, the relationship between the elves and the dwarves has really diminished. It is really deteriorated. They don't like each other at all.
Yeah, for sure.
To the point to where, like, essentially they're they're relatively antagonistic. Really, the only reason why they're interacting in Lord of the Rings is because there's such a great evil, and like that's part of the reason why it's kind of to show that there's such a great evil that these two races are coming together to fight it. It's kind of like to up the ante about like who they're fighting, but it kind of creates this almost sadness in like the fact that they at one point these two races were actually relatively close. Like they had a working relationship. They were friendly with each other in a lot of ways. People in the races interacted and were friends. It happened. Like there were friendships that were built between these two races that you wouldn't see that you wouldn't see in the later years of Middle Earth.
Yeah, and what was Elrond's buddy, the dwarf? Was it
Was it Durin?
Durin? I think it was Durin,
yep,
right?
Durin.
Yeah. Man, they had such a great chemistry.
Yeah, I know their chemistry was so good.
Such a great chemistry.
I know. Man, they had some funny
Incredible
quips too.
chemistry.
And even I forget Durin's wife's name, but she was
she
very
was
good
awesome.
compliment to that dude.
Yeah.
Oh man, so good, so good.
What else are we missing?
But
there's more for sure.
Let's see. Oh yeah, Arendir.
Oh yeah, dude, the
Elrond
pretty elf.
Dude.
The pretty elf, yeah, the beautiful elf.
Dude, he was gorgeous,
dude.
bro.
Oh, I know, right?
Dude.
His was interesting because he kind of like he was the bridge to the humans.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were deep in the Galadriel and Elrond and like the dwarfs, right? And then like he was an elf warrior who bridged the gap between to the human world.
I think it's interesting because a lot of the elves that we've seen so far, excuse me, in the Lord of the Rings universe have been very highborn type of elves. Like we don't think of Legolas as being highborn, but he was a prince.
Yeah,
like he was not like some lowborn person. Elrond was, the leader at Rivendell. Éowyn was, his daughter, so she was essentially a prince. Galadriel was not lowborn in her own right.
Yeah, but this guy, I mean, he was
just like, he was like a middle class dude, essentially.
He's just a foot soldier. Truly a foot soldier.
Yeah.
Now a beautiful foot soldier.
Oh, yeah.
With some great skills. Like some
Yes.
incredible skills.
Oh man, he had his fighting skills were incredible.
But he also had some he had a little love affair
I know,
going on.
right?
Huh?
Bronwyn, that character was. I majority liked that character, but there was some moments where I was like, okay, a little too like self-righteous here, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
especially when she
was-
like tried to take over the town.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I was
right.
just like, you're just like asserting yourself.
Yeah,
here,
dude. But I mean,
yeah.
step
I mean-
it- power vacuum right now.
I think the worst part about her was who she spawned. But
easy on the eyes.
Yeah,
though,
that's
for sure.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that was Theo's mom, right?
It
yes, that was
yeah.
Theo's mom.
Yeah, the big regret there. Yeah. And
Big
you could,
regret.
like, dude, yeah. Theo, man. Gosh, I actually forgot about him. And you guys bringing him up on this podcast, actually, I'm disappointed you guys did that because now I'm, like, frustrated remembering that he even existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just such a frustrating character, and he just, I don't know, he encapsulated so much of like the terrible ineptitude of that age, first of all, and then secondly, like that character type,
Yeah.
just like, the self-righteous, like you talk about his mother being self-righteous. He was self-righteous to like the nth degree, and, to the point to where he was willing to essentially, because he didn't understand things, destroy everything in around there and, basically assist, a great evil because he was unwilling to just, not be a D-bag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's see. Bronwyn. Some of the things about her. I did like her introduction. She did. Like she was like kind of helping out with chores and stuff around the village, right? But you can tell like she established herself in the village, right? Which I guess that's why she was all self-righteous and everything because she felt comfortable. But the scene where she discovers the tunnel that they've been building,
Yeah.
the orcs. That was pretty cool, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like that whole reveal that the orcs
Yeah.
slaughtered the town across from them,
Yep.
and then like tunneled their way into their town, and like, yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff with the orcs. The orcs were cool. Honestly, I felt like the orcs kind of like maybe took over certain scenes.
Yeah,
and,
when they captured them and
yeah, like they captured Arendir and
Arendir,
yeah, and
he was in their little prison camp for a
yes,
while.
right, and that was the cool scene where we got with the slow mo where Arendir like grabs the like whatever I think it was a branch and he like jumps in the air, slow motion, goes to chop at I forget the leader of the orcs, who's elf.
Adar.
Is it? Oh yes,
Yes,
Adar.
yes.
Look at you go, man.
Names, baby.
Yeah,
I'm on fire tonight.
Yeah, and he
Magic
stops
mind,
like
dude.
inches. Yeah, ooh, he stops inches in front of him, and
Yeah.
he like kind of like is. It was a cool move. It was a cool escape attempt, but no.
Yeah. Yeah, Adar, again, another guy that you're like, oh, that must be Sauron.
Right, correct.
But
And
then
then,
it's-
and he denied it twice.
Maybe more than that, dude. Maybe,
Yeah.
but, like, it felt like he was on, like, trial the whole time.
Right.
he's like, can y'all stop asking me?
Yeah, he's
I
like,
ain't this
seriously,
dude.
like, why are you still thinking
He's
I'm
like,
this
he
guy?
abandoned us. I don't, why y'all think I'm him, you know?
Yeah, he's like, if anything, I'm gonna usurp him. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
go.
Well, I think I don't even know if he was thinking about like usurping. He was just like, it was like this void, and he felt like his people needed leadership, and like I felt like in a way they were almost like trying to give you a view into like the orc life in the sense of trying to make you almost feel for them a little bit. To like
yeah.
they, you don't think about it, but they like essentially he was just trying to get like a piece of this world for his people. You know, like
That's true.
Like they maybe not going out about it like in the most, you know.
This was their best attempt at humanizing, to a sense.
Yes.
orcs.
It was definitely an attempt to humanize orcs for sure, and it's a tall task
Yeah.
to go after because, like, I mean, it generally in Lord of the Rings they've been just almost essentially like mindless beings in most way in
right.
most situations, and like even if you get into like D&D, like a lot of times you can't even play an orc in most campaigns because they're essentially just straight evil. That's why there's the class of like half orc,
Correct.
or the
Right.
race of half orc,
Right.
because you have to like dilute the evil of the orc to
Water
even
it
be able
down.
to like work with anybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was definitely like a solid attempt to try to like create this like unease about like the orcs' place in the world and like why they do the things that they do.
Right.
Yeah, and Adar was like he was an interesting character. And yeah, I
He
mean,
was one of those characters where I was like, I don't like him, I don't hate him, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
but his plan to get the volcano to erupt and shroud like Middle Earth with
Yeah.
a
Darkness.
cloud.
Darkness.
Yeah, darkness, so that the
Yes.
orcs could just live
Yep.
free, and
Yeah.
it worked. It happened.
It did. That was the final. Like that was like the final like scene essentially, right? Like.
Yeah.
Well, no.
no,
The
it
rings.
was
The
early.
rings were the final scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was like
there was still like a whole full episode.
yeah, it was like
Okay.
penultimate or,
or
maybe
two.
the
Yeah.
Well,
maybe
but
before
then in the
that.
last episode, you see them walking around in the smoke, and then you see the humans, Numenor, on the mountain, being like, "What have we done?" Like Isildur is,
Yeah.
he's under the rubble, and
Yes.
they're about to leave him behind. So
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy. And like also if you think about the reasoning for that, like that seems like a pretty evil thing to do. But then when you think about it from the fact that like most orcs are sensitive to light, it was a reason for them to be able to like not live underground, you know,
Right.
or like live in caves or things like that. That's essentially what he was just
Yeah.
trying to do, was to facilitate like the
Exactly.
ability to
walk freely.
yes, to walk freely on, land.
to be free. That's it.
essentially.
And that's why they
because-
loved it. That's why the orcs loved
Yeah.
Adar so much,
Yeah.
because like he was
He
there.
gave him that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, why don't we like speculate what we think's gonna happen?
All right, good call.
Yeah.
Let me go first.
Okay, go
I
for
have
it.
no idea. I
So-
have no clue. All right, your turn.
If we're gonna base like have you seen the trailer, T-Roll, or no? Have you seen-
no, I actually
Have you
I've
seen the
been trying
trailer,
to-
Shimano?
I have not.
Wow.
I've been trying to watch less and less trailers,
Yeah,
man.
they
Although as
spoil
a
too much,
podcast
yeah.
host, maybe I should
Yeah.
watch it.
Okay, so I'm the only one watching the trailer, so I have a little bit of like insider
All
information
right,
here.
so here's what you need to do.
Mhm.
Talk about it in a way. Is this even possible? I was gonna say it's spoiler free, but like I don't know how you would do that.
I think you just got to sacrifice this for the pod.
Dang it!
Numenor is got to get. has got some issues going on.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if
dude,
The senator,
politics, bro.
Yes, the politics. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So the king has died,
Uh-huh.
right? And so
The
now,
guy with
like,
the nice beard.
That's right. And
He's
so
stepping in.
the queen regent, and there's the guy with the nice
Little
beard.
finger or whatever.
Little. So he's got some political moves that he's making, which is
Yes.
going to be very interesting because, I mean, his character, like, the hair beard combo is fantastic. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, it's great.
I think it's fantastic. But he's
No
got a bigger
complaints
play.
here.
There's a bigger play that he's trying to make with Numenor, and I think that's going to come unraveling. But I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is seeing how Galadriel takes the information that she has with knowing that Halbrand is who he is. He is. They forge the rings, the 3 elven rings, and what do they do with that? Like, where do they go from here, and how do they use that to essentially like get into Mordor and like stop what's going on, because Mordor is created at the end of this of the season. So.
Yeah.
I think there's a distinct chance that she ends up going. Essentially, she obviously at the beginning doesn't really want to bring that up. She has some issues with that, but I think she eventually gives into it. But by that time, she's lost her chance to like really have an impact with it. And what's going to end up happening is it's going to look like she wants the power.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's going to end up happening. I think she's going to kind of have to like find a secondary way to fight this force, and it may end up with her going out and like connecting with like Arondir and people like that. Like on that side, the people who are already
more crossovers with these characters, right?
like
Because they were all for
yes.
the most part separate.
Yes, like connect that world a little bit. Connect those type of characters, those people who are not necessarily directly related to the like core of the elven race.
Right.
I think that's going to be a big thing.
Like kind of escape the politics of it. That
Yes,
kind of thing.
essentially, like which would make a lot of sense for her character because she, like
She doesn't play by the rules.
She not just she doesn't play by the rules, but she doesn't care about like the red tape. She is more about like the morality of what is right and wrong, rather than like how to like legally
that's good.
follow these lines,
Yeah,
how
that's
to
true.
how to
Good point,
play
good
the
point.
game to get someone on your side. She's like,
Yeah.
I know what's right, I know what's wrong. I'm going to do the path of right. I don't care if it looks wrong. I don't care if I have to smoosh people. I don't want to do that.
Right.
I just want to do what is right. That's kind of how I see her.
That's good, dude. Next week, I'm so excited, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, man.
It's
be really good.
Just talking about it here, man. Like, I'm glad that Shamato, you brought up the fan base being like sour, right?
Yeah.
Screw you guys, man. Like, I'm a part of this fan base, and
Have
I say
fun.
screw you guys. Like, just enjoy the ride, man. We're getting content, man.
Yeah.
And not only are we getting Rings of Power season 2, right? But then later on in like December, we're getting like the animated Lord of the Rings movie, where it's like Rohan, like they're gonna do a bunch of stuff there. So like, that's gonna be incredible. So just sit back and eat, dude.
Yeah.
Just like freaking eat.
Soak it in.
Yeah.
Take it all in, man.
I do have I think at some point we're going to see the fall of Arondir. I think he's going to die at some point.
Oh, I mean, one of these
you dare.
yeah, he's too beautiful to
Don't
die.
you
You don't
dare,
kill
dude.
pretty people. I guess
See,
that's
but
the thing.
okay, so
You can kill the 3 of us, but you don't kill the pretty people, man.
see, but the problem with that is with the way that his character is being built. By the time of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, if his character arc had played out right and he doesn't
He'd still be
die for an event like this,
that's true.
he
You're
would be
right.
significant.
He'd-
We would know who he is because he
Yeah.
would have lived long enough. So he has to have.
Dang it.
in my mind,
Or he ran off with Bronwyn
Or-
and lived happily ever after.
Or
and
he goes
escaped
to that
it.
little light paradise thing in the
he
water.
goes across the river.
Yeah.
Across the
across the
sea.
ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good. That's a good
Maybe.
point. That's a good point, though, Shimano. That would be a pretty lame way. Wouldn't it? I'd rather him have a glorious, glorious
that's,
death.
that's what I hate about prequels. Like, because we know, like Isildur, like we know he lives. He's not
Yes.
buried on the rubble.
Right,
Like we know that. Spoilers in case you haven't watched Lord of the Rings. But like you're nuts. But yeah, dude, I'm so excited for Rings of Power.
I'm excited too,
season
man.
2,
I'm excited too.
I would love to see like the rise of his family, like and see how it actually works because of course he becomes, his father becomes the king, at one point.
Right.
So
How do we get there?
how do we get there? How does his family, who is, they're in.
Do we get there by season 2? That's what you're saying. Like,
I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, but we're going to see like some of the beginnings of that kind of stuff. Because his father, who seems like a very like genuine dude,
he knows
like,
what's right.
and he knows
He's a
right
good
from
dude, for
wrong.
sure.
And I would love to see like him how he ends up moving up the rungs in this society.
Yeah.
You know, because it seems like you said, that senator. Very weaselly, very conniving.
Yeah.
Like
Good
he
work.
obviously knows how to play. And then you have the Queen Regent, who
He's a politician,
has been a
boy.
very like positive force. But you know, like what's gonna happen with her? You know, because you also have to kind of think, okay, so this person's gonna become if he's going to become the king, how does he get there? Does the senator have to die for that to happen? Does the Queen Regent have to die for that to happen? Is it going to be something like he does something that causes the Queen to put him in a place to where he can become that? Or will it be something interesting like, it will be really cool in my estimation would be the senator miscalculates, raises him up, expecting him to be a pawn that he can use, but he isn't that pawn. He used that power to actually be.
Here's Ryder Amato coming
like,
out.
I know,
to
right?
be like
He's
that
on fire.
dude to like lead
Yeah.
to lead them in the right direction. And in that moment, kind of like the senator loses. It's like the first time we really see him lose.
Yeah.
Like everything up until this point, he's played his cards, and they've all came up.
And the funny
senator.
thing
They've all
is,
hit.
there's a percentage of people out there who actually already know what happens with that scenario, and they're just like, "Oh, you guys are so wrong. You guys are
Yeah.
so wrong."
Yeah, that's true. Hey, but you know what? Guess what? In Hollywood, baby,
Yeah,
they can change it up.
Yeah, wild card, baby.
Yeah, just throw that joker down,
Yeah.
bro.
Well, the thing is, it's so far back in the history of the Lord of the Rings franchise. A lot of these things that people are building, these what they think are hard, like facts, are built off of either built off of like folklore from inside the universe. Which this thing about as our human beings, folklore. I mean, there are truths sometimes built into it, but that doesn't mean it's a hard truth. You
Right,
know, like
correct.
doesn't know how. And sometimes it's like one line from a book
Yeah.
that they're building all this stuff from, or an assumption from something that they have seen from one of the books,
Yeah.
or sometimes just like, oh, we think this is how it would work out. Doesn't necessarily mean
A
it's
large
gonna
portion
play
of
out.
this is based off of like the appendix, like or,
Yes.
yeah, so I don't. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, it's based off like an appendix.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's wild.
which you know, as
bring
we all
on
know,
season 2, baby.
which leading through this, the appendix is a vestigial organ, can easily be removed. So like, and not affect the overall story. So
It's true.
That's a fair
Loose
point.
interpretations. is
Yes.
what we
Yeah.
got there, so.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up, guys. Next week we will have our review of episode 1 of season 2. Is it
Maybe 2?
Is it 2 episodes?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
I think
know.
it's just the one.
whatever the start of the season 2 is? We'll have it covered right here in the Royal Geek Pod. Okay?
Even if they drop all the season, we'll have it.
Yeah, about that.
Tyler's like, wait a minute.
Wait, what? I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, remind you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Follow us on social media at Royal Geek Pod. What else? Yeah, check out our friends, magicmind.com/Royal Pod 20. Check it out. Get your subscription now. And be sure to come back next week for our review of the beginning of Season 2 of The Rings of Power. With all that in mind, for my good friends, Sandy and Shamato, this is T-Roll saying thank you so much for listening to the Royal Geek Podcast. We will see you next time, you peasants.